Evening to talk about how this keeps happening and impacts to Reliant Financial is Ernest Just, a cybersecurity expert and CEO of Cyberdome. Ernest is also a guest columnist with the New York Times, where you report on emerging cyber trends.
That's right.
And also joining us this evening is Danielle Hill, also a cyber expert and author of several published books on cybersecurity threats in the financial sector. And Danielle, I believe you also have been an advisor to multiple White House administrations regarding cyber policy.
That is right, Brianne.
Well, welcome to both of you.
Thank you for having us.
Mm-hmm. All right, so Ernest and Danielle, what is going on with Reliant Financial?
Sure. So Reliant is a financial services giant with $1 trillion in assets under management. They are joining a growing list of large financial institutions to fall victim to a cyber attack. Now, as you mentioned earlier, Brianne, Queensbridge was victimized a few months ago when they lost millions of customers' records containing PII. That means that the bank is pretty much liable for what happens to all of that data and how it may be misused. Luckily for Queensbridge, the FBI made an arrest in that case fairly quickly, and authorities believe that the impacts of the breach were contained.
That's always the position authorities take, unfortunately. In reality, once that data leaves the network of its owner, you kind of have to assume that it's bouncing all over the world, maybe being sold several times over.
Yeah, right. So that's what happened to Queensbridge, but let's bring it back to Reliant. The details that we're reporting state that Reliant lost what appears to be over 100,000 records, and there's speculation that the data includes customer account numbers, names, addresses, and social security numbers. Mm-hmm. There's also a concern that some employee data may have been stolen.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's everything, right? I mean, if you were trying to steal personal information, you don't need much more than that to do damage.
Oh, that's right, Brianne. And that's why companies, especially financial institutions, are working so hard to limit their cybersecurity liability, which has led to an increase in cyber policies being issued.
Well, that's great for corporate America, but what about the consumer? How are they protected?
Yeah, well, that's why you've seen advances with two-factor authentication. That's become a popular way to validate the use of credentials that can be stolen from keyloggers or through social engineering.
Sorry to interrupt. All this is true, but I just want to point out exactly why this is so important, why we all should be concerned about these types of attacks. Attacks on financial services institutions impact both individuals and families who depend on these organizations to protect and grow their assets. You know, this is a large number of people's retirement accounts that could be at risk here. And let's be honest, 100,000 customer records is small in comparison to what we have normally seen, but if this metastasizes like any of these breaches typically do, there's a good chance that we as individuals or someone we know was impacted. You know, it could all get pretty personal pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. I should also note that my Twitter followers have been pinging me and posting their own comments about this all day.
I should probably note that we're reaching out to Reliant for a statement and that we're still working to confirm all the details in this story.
Yes, we should point that out, Anderson. So is this the first time Reliant has been involved in a cyber attack?
Not likely. Most people don't realize that major companies and even increasingly small government agencies are getting attacked on a regular basis, sometimes even daily. They typically just don't become public, but when they do, that's normally a tell for us that something really did happen because the impacts of the attack are being seen even beyond the victims.
Okay, guys, the producer's telling me we need to go to another break. So real fast, what do our viewers need to know about this as they go to sleep, hoping that their finances are safe?
Well, I guess whether they are able to sleep tonight will depend on where they keep their money, right? No, seriously, but these things happen, and they happen pretty regularly. Most institutions are prepared for when they do, and they're getting better at responding. Still, it's worth noting that cyber criminals are getting smarter. They're getting faster and better equipped and even better financed, which means they are unfortunately going to embarrass companies like Reliant from time to time.
I mean, this attack is likely much larger than anything Reliant has seen before. It will require a coordinated response from their leadership, followed by a long process of working with impacted customers to ensure their financial security and reassure their trust, and working with regulators to ensure that they are in full compliance.
Well, Ernest and Danielle, thank you both for joining us. You two definitely know your stuff. We'll have to have you back.